Hello, my name is Dakota Perigo, and for my Disciplinary Argument project, I decided to show how the addition of new features in video games allowed creators to tell a better story. When video games first began, they were primarily for having fun. There wasn't much to do in them, but people began to find ways to implement a story into them. The earliest example of a complete story is Donkey Kong 1981. The story was shown through cutscenes before and after each level, and people loved the idea. After a couple years, creators began to expand on the elements that they could implement to make games more meaningful. They wanted a way to immerse players even further into a story, and players wanted a deeper narrative in their story. The first solution they had to this is text games. These games use text similar to computer commands to tell a character what to do in a game. This allowed players to be the mind of the character for the first time ever. For example, you can make a choice that leads the hero you are playing to his death, or make a decision that allows him to find the princess he's been searching for. This is exactly what happened in King's Quest. These type of games would be the beginning of giving a player full free choice in what he or she does. After some more time passed, 3D video games began to take over the market. This allowed there to be full maps to explore, and with it came the silent protagonist. The silent protagonist is a main character who is given limited to no speech. They were simply used as a vessel for the character to play as, but this allowed players to put their own emotions into the character and experience the story that's unfolding right in front of them. Even though creators were capable of adding speech today, some prefer this style to allow players to make their own character. One of the biggest games that still use this is the Legend of Zelda series. In this game, you control a silent protagonist named Link and follow him through his many journeys. Even in the newest Legend of Zelda game, that won an award for Game of the Year, Link does not speak. Another interesting take on the silent protagonist approach is shown in the game Gone Home. In this modern example, you play as a character who is walking through a house trying to find video recordings to piece together a story. The silent protagonist you play as is almost completely irrelevant to the plot of the story, and the style of this game allows your character to sit in the background and listen to the timeline of a story. In the 1990s, video game creators were adding voices to every character in the game. By giving the protagonist a voice, it gave the creators the control over the emotion each character would convey. An early example of this type of story is Resident Evil. Resident Evil put people on a straightforward timeline that could easily be followed, and allowed for characters to change and develop when things would occur. This type of story would allow creators to set the entire emotional appeal of the story, and it would allow for stronger emotions from players. Today, games use some or all of the elements listed throughout this presentation to create the story they desire. Players also have the option to search for the type of story they want to play. Players can choose to have an open world game with endless stories like Skyrim, or choose to have a straightforward experience that leads to suspense like The Last of Us. Thanks to the addition of all the features in this presentation, there is basically no barrier to storytelling.